What if the most powerful weapon in the world wasn't forged in fire or steel? Not a sword to cleave through armies, not a gun to silence dissent, not even a word to spark revolutions, but a feeling. A feeling so subtle, so insidious, it could bend the strongest wills, topple empires, and make kings kneel without ever knowing why. That feeling is guilt. It's the invisible chain that binds us all, a force so potent it shapes destinies while masquerading as choice. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on this silent puppeteer. I'll show you how it works, who's wielded it through history, and, most importantly, how you can master it. Not to harm, but to command, to influence, to carve your path through a world that's anything but fair. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see the chains around you, and you'll hold the tools to forge your own. Guilt is the ultimate paradox. It's a prison we build with our own hands, yet the key rests in the palm of another. It's a whisper that drowns out reason, a shadow that feels like light. Niccolo Machiavelli, the Renaissance master of power's dark arts, understood this better than anyone. He didn't just study influence. He dissected it, like a surgeon slicing through flesh to reveal the pulsing heart beneath. In The Prince, he wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Guilt is that deception, cloaked in morality, dressed in duty. It's not brute force, it's better. It's the art of making others want to obey, believing it's their choice all along. Look around you. Every day, millions act against their own interests. Why? Because someone, somewhere, pressed a hidden lever in their soul. A friend stays in a toxic relationship, muttering, "I can't abandon them." An employee burns out working unpaid overtime, chasing a boss's fleeting praise. Entire societies bend under the weight of obligations they never questioned, convinced they're choosing freely. But are they? Or are they dancing to a tune they didn't write, pulled by strings they can't see? This isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. To understand guilt is to see the machinery of influence. To master it is to hold the reins of power itself. Machiavelli didn't invent this game. He mapped it. He saw how the clever could shape outcomes without raising a fist. His lessons aren't relics of a bygone era. They're a blueprint for today's world, where influence is currency and attention is fleeting. Over the next hour, we'll tear open that blueprint. We'll explore guilt's anatomy, its masters through history, its grip on our modern lives, and, crucially, how you can wield it strategically, ethically, to bend the world to your will. This is no lecture. This is a revelation. Let's begin. Part 1. The Anatomy of Guilt. Guilt isn't just an emotion. It's a mechanism, a lever buried deep in the human psyche. Think of it as a trapdoor in your mind. Step on it, and you plummet into a cycle of shame, obligation, and redemption. It's not random. It's engineered, sculpted by centuries of culture, family, and those cunning enough to exploit it. To wield guilt, you must first understand it, like a swordsman studying the weight of his blade. From the moment we're born, we're taught to feel bad when we fail others. A parent's sigh, a teacher's frown, a priest's sermon. They all plant seeds. That pang in your chest when you disappoint someone. That's not just you. It's a reflex, wired into us by social machinery older than empires. It's why a child cries when scolded, why an adult hesitates to say no. Guilt is conditioned, a response as automatic as flinching from pain. And where there's a reflex, there's a way to exploit it. Machiavelli saw this and grinned. Why force obedience with threats when you can make someone crave it? In The Prince, he notes, "A prince must inspire fear in such a way that if he does not win love, he avoids hatred." But guilt, it's better than fear or love. It's invisible. It makes people act without questioning, believing they're redeeming themselves. Let's ground this with a simple example. Imagine a coworker asks for help on a project. You're swamped, your own deadlines looming like storm clouds. They don't beg. They just sigh. I guess I'll figure it out. Somehow. Suddenly you're clearing your schedule, resentment bubbling but buried. Why? Not because they threatened you, but because they pressed that hidden button. Guilt. You feel you owe them, even if it costs you time, energy, or peace. That's power, subtle and absolute. Now scale it up. Guilt doesn't just shape one-on-one moments, it moves masses. Religions have used it for millennia, weaving tales of sin and salvation to guide billions. Politicians invoke it to rally voters, framing dissent as betrayal of a shared dream. Corporations lean on it to squeeze more from workers, tying paychecks to purpose. Guilt is a universal currency, and those who mint it hold the world's purse strings. But how does it work so well? It's simple. Guilt thrives on expectation. When someone sets a standard, moral, professional, or personal, and you fall short, the gap becomes a void only action can fill. That action isn't always rational. People will sacrifice their health, wealth, or happiness to close that gap, not because it makes sense, but because guilt makes it feel urgent. It's a fire in the mind, and the only water is compliance. Let's pause here. Think about the last time you felt guilty. Maybe you skipped a family dinner, ignored a friend's text, or missed a work target. What did you do next? Did you apologize, overcompensate, or double down to make it right? That urge wasn't just emotion. It was a script written long before you were born. The question is, who's holding the pen? Part 2. The Masters of Guilt. History is a gallery of those who wielded guilt like artists. Their canvases were human hearts, their brushes obligation and shame. Let's walk through this gallery, starting with one of Rome's greatest, Julius Caesar. Caesar didn't just conquer lands, he conquered loyalty. When his soldiers wavered, exhausted, outnumbered, he didn't threaten or bribe. He spoke of shared hardship. "I've marched with you," he'd say, scars visible on his arms. "I've starved with you, bled with you. Will you not stand with me now?" His words weren't commands, they were debts. His men fought, not out of fear, but because they felt they owed him. That's the alchemy of guilt, turning allegiance into obligation. Caesar's genius lay in storytelling. He painted himself as a sacrificial leader, every victory a gift to Rome, every wound a testament to his devotion. When he crossed the Rubicon, defying the Senate, he framed it as a duty to the people, not ambition. His followers didn't just obey, they believed because guilt made betrayal unthinkable. In The Prince, Machiavelli praises such cunning. A wise ruler must appear to be merciful, faithful, humane. Appearances matter, and Caesar's appearance as a burdened savior chained legions to his cause. Now let's shift to Egypt, to Cleopatra. She wasn't just a seductress, she was a strategist who wove guilt like silk. When Mark Antony faltered, torn between Rome and her, Cleopatra didn't rage. She spoke softly, recounting her risks, her kingdom staked on his wars, her children's future tied to his success. "I've given everything," she'd imply. "Will you let it crumble?" Antony fought harder, not just for love, but because guilt anchored him to her will. She made him feel that failing her was failing himself, a masterstroke of emotional leverage. Machiavelli would have admired her. In discourses on Livy, he writes, "The prince who has allies will always have power." Cleopatra's allies weren't just armies. They were men bound by obligation, their loyalty forged in the quiet crucible of guilt. She didn't demand, she implied, and implication is guilt's sharpest edge. Fast forward centuries to a darker figure, Joseph Stalin. If Caesar and Cleopatra were artists, Stalin was a butcher, wielding guilt with brutal precision. During the Great Purges, Stalin didn't just eliminate rivals, he erased their spirits. Take Nikolai Bukharin, a Bolshevik hero. Accused of treason, he could have resisted. Instead, he stood before a show trial, voice trembling, and confessed. Not because of torture alone, but because Stalin's propaganda painted dissent as betrayal of the revolution's soul. Bukharin believed he'd failed, not Stalin, but the dream they'd shared. He begged forgiveness, not for real crimes, but for imagined sins. That's guilt's ultimate victory, when the victim becomes the executioner, tightening their own noose. Stalin's tool wasn't just fear, it was narrative. He framed the Soviet state as a sacred cause, every citizen a debtor to its glory. To question him was to betray millions, a sin too heavy to bear. In The Prince, Machiavelli warns, men are quicker to forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Stalin understood this, making dissent feel like stealing from the collective soul. His purges weren't just political, they were moral, and guilt was the gavel. But let's not stay in the shadows. Guilt isn't always grim, it can inspire. Consider Abraham Lincoln, a softer master. Lincoln didn't just fight to save the Union, he framed it as a moral debt to humanity. His speeches, like the Gettysburg Address, wove guilt into purpose. "We here highly resolve," he said, "that these dead shall not have died in vain." Every soldier, every citizen felt the weight of those words. To falter was to betray the fallen, to dishonor freedom itself. Lincoln's guilt wasn't manipulative, it was unifying, rallying a fractured nation through shared obligation. These masters, Caesar, Cleopatra, Stalin, Lincoln, show guilt's spectrum, from subtle to savage, inspiring to oppressive. What unites them? Strategy. They didn't stumble into influence, they crafted it, using guilt to shape behavior. Machiavelli's lesson rings clear. A prince must know how to act as both fox and lion. Guilt is the fox's whisper, the lion's roar, and those who wield it write history. Part 3. Guilt in the Modern World. You might think guilt's power belongs to tomes and tombs, but it's alive, pulsing through our lives like electricity. From boardrooms to bedrooms, social media to global stages, guilt shapes our choices more than we dare admit. Let's map its modern empire. Start with the workplace. Companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Apple don't just hire, they indoctrinate. Jeff Bezos built Amazon on a mantra. Customer obsession. Miss a delivery deadline, and it's not just a logistical slip, it's a moral failing, a betrayal of millions who depend on you. Employees push harder, not always for raises, but to escape that gnawing sense of falling short. The culture frames every task as a debt to the customer, and guilt keeps the machine humming. Elon Musk takes it further. At Tesla or SpaceX, you're not just building cars or rockets, you're saving humanity. Musk's vision is a cathedral, and every worker is a bricklayer. Miss a target? You're not failing a quota. You're failing the planet, the future, the species. It's no accident that employees describe 80-hour weeks as a badge of honor. Guilt transforms exhaustion into duty, and Musk reaps the rewards. But it's not just tech giants. Smaller workplaces play the game too. Ever had a boss say, "We're a family here"? That's not just camaraderie, it's a guilt trip. Families don't quit, don't complain, don't prioritize themselves. When layoffs loom, you're not just losing a job, you're letting down the team. The language is deliberate, chaining you to a desk with invisible links. Now zoom out to social media, guilt's loudest megaphone. Every scroll is a minefield. Didn't like your friend's post? You're a bad friend. Didn't share that viral cause? You're complicit in injustice. Didn't post about the latest tragedy? You're heartless. Platforms like Instagram and X thrive on this, algorithmically amplifying posts that tug at your conscience. It's not connection, it's obligation, a digital debt you can never repay. The average person spends hours a day chasing absolution through likes and retweets, unaware they're caught in a cycle designed to keep them scrolling. Politicians know this game too. Modern campaigns don't just promise, they guilt. Vote for us, they say, or you're abandoning progress, security, your children's future. It's not about policy, it's about framing choice as a moral test. During elections, ads flood screens with images of struggling families, implying your ballot is their lifeline. Guilt doesn't just sway voters, it mobilizes them, turning apathy into action. Even personal relationships aren't immune. Think about the last time someone guilt-tripped you. Maybe a partner said, "After all I've done, you can't do this one thing." Or a parent sighed, "I sacrificed everything for you." These aren't arguments, they're emotional chess moves, leveraging guilt to checkmate your resolve. We've all fallen for it, because guilt is intimate, striking where logic falters. But here's the twist. Guilt isn't always top-down. It's peer-to-peer, woven into culture itself. Ever felt judged for skipping a social cause or not keeping up with trends? That's collective guilt, a pressure to conform disguised as virtue. From veganism to fitness crazes, society sets bars, be kinder, greener, better, and falling short feels like a personal sin. It's not just pressure, it's a script, and we're all actors reading lines we didn't write. Let's ground this with a story. Sarah, a 30-year-old marketing manager, joined a startup promising world-changing tech. The CEO's pep talks were electric. "We're here to save lives." Deadlines were brutal, but Sarah stayed late, skipped weekends, ignored her health. Why? Not just ambition, but guilt. Every missed target felt like failing the mission, the team, the world. When she burned out and quit, the CEO didn't scold. He sighed. "I thought you believed in us." That one line haunted her for months. That's guilt's modern face, not chains of iron, but whispers of duty. Part 4. The Philosophy of Guilt. To wield guilt, you must know its roots. Let's step back from history and markets to explore its deeper currents, through the minds of thinkers who wrestled with its power. Friedrich Nietzsche saw guilt as a weapon of the weak, forged by priests and rulers to tame the strong. In his view, ancient societies prized strength, warriors, conquerors, unapologetic in their might. But the powerless, unable to fight back, crafted a counter-weapon: morality. They labeled strength sinful, pride arrogant, and made guilt the price of being human. Man turned himself into an animal of remorse, Nietzsche wrote, arguing that guilt chained humanity to submission. For him, it was a trick, a way to invert power by making the mighty feel ashamed of their nature. Machiavelli, ever the pragmatist, would have nodded at Nietzsche's insight, but cared less for philosophy than results. In The Prince, he doesn't moralize about guilt, he shows how to use it. When Nietzsche saw a cage, Machiavelli saw a lever. Both agreed, guilt controls, and those who understand it shape the world. Now let's turn to Fyodor Dostoevsky, who plumbed guilt's depths in Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov, Dostoevsky's tormented hero, kills a pawnbroker, believing he's above morality. But guilt betrays him. It's not the police he fears, it's himself. Nightmares, paranoia, and a compulsion to confess consume him, proving guilt's power to unravel even the boldest. Dostoevsky's lesson is stark. Guilt isn't just external, it's internal. A judge no one escapes. For Machiavelli, this would have been a warning. Wield guilt carefully, lest it turn on you. Existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre adds another layer. In being and nothingness, he argues, guilt arises from freedom. We're free to choose, but every choice excludes others, leaving us responsible for what we didn't do. That responsibility breeds guilt, a shadow of our autonomy. Sartre's insight cuts deep. In a world of infinite choices, guilt is inevitable, making it a universal tool for influence. These thinkers, Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, Sartre, map guilt's terrain, from social control to inner torment to existential weight. Machiavelli stands apart, not analyzing but acting, turning guilt into strategy. His lesson? Don't debate the chain. Learn to forge it. Part 5. Breaking and Forging the Chain. Now we arrive at the heart of our journey, how to master guilt. This isn't about manipulation, it's about empowerment. Guilt is a force, like gravity or fire. You can't escape it, but you can harness it. Let's break this down into 2 steps. Breaking the chains on you and forging chains for others. Step 1. Break the chains first. See the guilt you carry. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a nagging doubt. Did you feel bad saying no to a favor? Hesitate to leave a draining job? That's the chain tightening. To break it, ask 3 questions. Who benefits from my guilt? Is it a boss extracting unpaid hours, a friend demanding loyalty, an algorithm pushing engagement? Trace the thread to its source. Is this debt real? Often, guilt stems from imagined obligations. Did you really fail someone, or did they set an unfair bar? Challenge the story. What's the cost of compliance? Every time you act from guilt, you pay. Time, energy, freedom. Weigh that cost against the relief of saying no. Let's apply this. Imagine your manager asks you to work late. Again, they don't demand, they sigh. We're counting on you. Guilt kicks in. You don't want to let the team down. Pause. Who benefits? The company, not you. Is the debt real? Maybe, but one night won't save the project. What's the cost? Your health, your family time. Now decide, is it worth it? Often you'll see the chain for what it is, a trick, not a truth. Breaking guilt takes practice. Start small. Say no to one low-stakes request, a colleague's favor, a social invite. Feel the pang, then let it pass. Each refusal strengthens you, like a muscle growing under strain. Soon you'll spot guilt's traps before they close. Step 2. Forge the chains. Now let's wield guilt, not to harm, but to lead. Machiavelli's fox doesn't dominate, it persuades. Here's how to forge guilt strategically, ethically, to shape outcomes. Create obligation through sacrifice. Share a small, authentic struggle. If you're leading a team, mention a late night you pulled for the project, not to boast, but to imply shared effort. People feel compelled to match your commitment. For example, a manager might say, I stayed up reworking the pitch to give us a shot. No demand, just a seed. Team members will step up, driven by guilt's quiet nudge. Frame requests as shared purpose. People resist orders but embrace causes. Want a colleague's help? Don't say, I need this. Say, this could make a real difference for the client. Guilt flows from failing something bigger than you. Politicians do this masterfully. Think of campaigns tying votes to saving democracy. Scale it to your world. Use silence as leverage. Guilt thrives in pauses. If someone hesitates to commit, don't push. Wait. A quiet look, a subtle sigh says more than words. They'll fill the silence with their own obligations, convincing themselves to act. Cleopatra knew this. So did Lincoln. It's not coercion, it's space for guilt to work. Reward redemption. When someone acts from guilt, acknowledge it. A simple thanks for stepping up reinforces the cycle, making them feel absolved. It's not manipulation, it's human nature. People crave closure and you provide it. Let's see this in action. You're pitching a project to a skeptical client. Instead of hard selling, you share a story. Our team poured months into this, believing it could transform your business. You're not begging, you're planting a debt. If they hesitate, pause, let the silence weigh. When they agree, thank them warmly. I knew you'd see the vision. You've guided them, not forced them, and guilt was your ally. A word of caution, wield guilt lightly. Overuse it and you breed resentment. Machiavelli warns, men must either be caressed or crushed. Guilt is the caress. Use it to build, not break. A chain too tight snaps, and trust shatters with it. Mastering guilt is mastering influence. It's not about deceit. It's about strategy, seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. The powerful don't shout, they whisper, and guilt is their softest, sharpest tool. Part 6. Guilt's Double Edge. Before we close, let's face guilt's shadow. It's a blade that cuts both ways. Wield it poorly, and it turns on you. History is littered with those who overplayed their hand. Consider Richard Nixon. His Watergate scandal wasn't just a political failure. It was a moral one. He tried to guilt-trip America, framing investigations as attacks on national unity. I'm not a crook, he insisted, but the harder he leaned on obligation, the more trust eroded. Guilt demands authenticity. Without it, it's a house of cards. Or take modern influencers. Some push too hard, shaming followers for not buying products or joining causes. The backlash is swift. Unfollows, cancellations, scorn. Guilt works when it feels organic, not orchestrated. Machiavelli's fox is cunning, not clumsy. Even in personal life, guilt can backfire. Push a friend too far. You owe me after all I've done. And you risk alienation. The chain breaks and relationships fray. The lesson: guilt is a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. Precision matters. On the flip side, guilt can paralyze the wielder. Dostoevsky's Raskolnikov teaches us this. If you manipulate without conviction, doubt creeps in. You question your motives, your morality. To wield guilt, you must believe in your purpose, or at least act like you do. Machiavelli's prince never hesitates. Certainty is his shield. How do you stay sharp? Reflect. After using guilt, ask, did it serve my goal? Did it harm unnecessarily? Adjust, learn, refine. Power isn't static. It's a craft, honed through trial and error. We've journeyed through guilt's empire, from Caesar's legions to Silicon Valley's cubicles, from Nietzsche's rebellion to Machiavelli's pragmatism. We've seen its chains bind kings and coders, its whispers topple empires and egos. Now, the board is yours. Will you remain a pawn tugged by invisible strings? Or will you become the player, crafting chains with care and cunning? Guilt isn't your enemy. It's your ally, a force to shape outcomes, build alliances, and claim your place. But it's not enough to know. You must act. Start today. Spot one guilt trip and deflect it. Plant one seed of obligation and watch it grow. The world doesn't reward the passive. It bows to the bold. Subscribe to dive deeper. Share this to spark a conversation. Comment with your story. When has guilt moved you, or when have you moved others? The game's already begun, and every moment is a move. Don't be left behind.